Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Brilliant Businesses podcast. My name is Nick Bryant, and I'm really pleased to be joined this morning by Andy Mitchell. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning.
How are you?
Really good, mate. Thanks.
Good. Thank you for coming in. Now, Andy is the founder of Solicon Conservatory Roofs. They're a conservatory roof replacement business, transforming your conservatory into an ideal living space. And with these bespoke timber frame tile conservatory roofs, your conservatory will be warm in the winter and cool in the summer. Sounds like a great alternative to a normal conservatory. But Andy, let's go back and tell us about your journey, about how it all started.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in this area of work for probably nearly 40 years.
Yep.
And more recently, I was working for another company, and I had the feeling that they weren't really delivering very good customer service. The prices were expensive.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can do better than that.
Yeah.
And opportunity knocked on the door. A friend of mine had his roof done, and the installer was interested in working for other people. So we met up. I liked what he'd done for my friend's house, and we decided to form a partnership. And Solicon Conservatory Roofs was born.
Amazing.
That was just nearly 7 years ago.
Right.
Just entering our 7th year.
Okay.
So I quit my job. I borrowed 20 grand from the bank. And just sort of thought, well, let's go for it. So
good for you.
Sold one job, I think, in the first 3 months. Was a bit desperate.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of money on marketing and research and getting everything together.
Yeah.
And I think last year we turned over just short of £2 million.
That's amazing.
So it's been a fantastic journey. And along the way, I sort of accumulated some staff, namely my children.
Yeah.
When they came on board, Luke, Jess, and Harry. We decided to form a limited company, so it's now SC Roofs Limited.
Yep.
And the kids are the directors.
Right.
And I'm purely in an advisory mode and looking after things on the top of things.
Because you love to go off playing golf, that's right.
I do like to play golf. It has been rumoured. Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good story. No, I love that. It's quite often you get it where someone's working for someone, they're not really happy, they think they can do it better themselves, and off they go. But it does take a lot of courage to do that.
I mean, I've always been a bit of a, foolhardy gambler and stuff, and I thought, I'll just take a punt on this, and it's really paid off.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of hard work. You get a lot of luck along the way, but it's really about putting the customer first, and that's what we really focus on. And anybody that worked for me or has worked for me knows that I'm really particular about that thing. Yeah. So I'd rather make less money on a job or make no money on a job as long as we have a happy customer. Yeah. Because that will then breed other happy customers, and every one installation you get, you get more from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it does spread in a very nice, positive way.
Yeah, I think that's quite telling, because I looked on your website and your Trustpilot reviews. Yeah. I think there's 233 on there, and probably going up and up
growing.
And they're all 5-star reviews.
We've actually had one 4-star,
which
I was really upset about.
Yeah, can't you delete it? No,
that's the whole beauty of
I know.
Trustpilot.
Yeah.
But the irony was, we'd actually fitted a roof for which they gave us a 5-star review. Yeah. And we went back and did some other ancillary work or something else, and I think the skip people put the skip down on the driveway, not where she wanted. She had a little bug about something, nothing to do really with us. Yeah. So she left a 4-star review.
Oh, that's annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, my marketing team then said that's actually a good thing, because if you've got all 5-star, people might think, well, but then if you read the reviews, a lot of people saying, I saw 5-star reviews, or one of them, I thought, what a load of poppycock. Yeah. Then I had them do the roof, and I realised it was true.
Yeah. Well, that. I was saying earlier, it's so nice when you create something that people really love and they just come to you because of it. And I think probably because of your communication and the way you really want the customers to be pleased with the end result is telling.
I mean, I'm not saying that, we fitted over 1,000 roofs in those 6 years. We're in our 7th year. Yeah. And of those 1,000 jobs, not everyone has gone perfectly. Of course it hasn't. No. But my son-in-law, Luke, who manages the running of the installation side of the business and a lot more, is very fastidious, and he's like a dog with a bone. So if there's a little niggle, he will go around and sort it out. Yeah. And that's why we don't get bad reviews, because the customer leaves a review, not when you first install it, but when it's completely snagged out, everything has been done, then they'll leave a review. Yeah. So if you just walk away from it and say, they'll be all right, you won't get good reviews. Okay. We're not like that.
Right, okay. And just going on to what it adds to the home, it's a fantastic idea, and it must add value to the home, does it?
Massively, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the first thing it does, it enables you to use the space that you have at home all year, every year.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's raining, if it's snowing, you can sit out there perfectly warm. You have to heat it in the winter, obviously, but the heat will be trapped in the room. It won't be escaping like, going through a glass roof or a polycarbonate roof.
Yeah.
You can put loads of kilowatts of heat into the room, it'll be freezing.
Yeah.
It's going straight out. So when it's reflected by the insulation back in there, it just makes it a much more temperate space that you can use all year round.
Okay.
So it's almost like your conservatory's turned into an extension of your home that you can use all the time.
Yeah.
And that will add value.
It will, won't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it just is like makes the house look bigger and an extension. And I expect when you look at it from the back as well, because most conservatories are at the back of the houses, is that right?
Most of them.
Yeah.
We've got a few on the side and a few on the front.
Yeah.
But most of the time, if it's on the front, they generally call it a porch.
Right, yes, true, yeah.
Big conservative, big porch, But generally they're on the back of the house.
Okay. Yeah. And can we just go through the process of when someone makes that call to you and says they're interested, and the process of then you going out, I don't know, surveying? Sure. Do you need to get building regulations, that sort of stuff?
All of that stuff we take care of. So basically, I mean, when I was waiting outside here, I had a phone call from a customer.
Yeah.
I passed that on to Carol, who's our liaison that speaks to all the customers, makes the appointments. She will ring that customer, make an appointment. It then comes back to me. I'll give it to one of our sales guys. Yeah. Book that out. They'll visit the customer, deliver a quote the same day. So we don't have any salesmen that are looking to get a sale on the day or all of that sort of stuff.
Right, okay.
There's none of that sort of stuff.
No.
So they'll go there, very full and professional presentation. I designed it, so it's terrible. I'm not very good with technology, but it covers everything. Yeah. So they get all of that information. It's emailed to them on the day, a full quote with all the information. They will then accept that. Within whatever time frame is comfortable for them. Yeah. We then email them a copy of the schedule of works, the order form, a technical drawing of the job, the deposit payment, all that sort of stuff goes out. Once they've sent that back to us and accepted that, within a week they'll get an installation date, and generally the roof will be installed no more than 4 to 10 weeks from that. Okay. Depending on whatever. Most of our jobs are fitted in 4 days. Most of them. If it's a monster, great big, triple size, it might be a little bit longer. Yeah. We provide building regulation on the job if they want it. It's not a mandatory thing. Right. Some jobs, it's best to get it done. Yeah. It depends on the customer's whatever the situation is. Yeah. But we provide all that through London Building Control, who will send a surveyor out twice, once during the build, once after it's fitted. Yeah. They'll inform the local council that the work's been done. They have 5 days to object. They never do, because it's improving. There's no... Yeah. And then once the job is installed and finished, a certificate is delivered, which just proves, so when the house is sold, the conveyancer can go, tick. Right, yeah. And it's all done. Yeah. But that's not mandatory. It's up to the customer. You don't have to do that. Yeah. So all of our builds comply to building regulations, apart from our insulation, which is actually 12% better than the standard building regs. Okay. And that really is down to Luke. Again, we had a meeting about when the regulations kept coming down. Over the last 3 or 4 years, they've come down from 0.18 to now 0.15. Right. So our roof is actually at 0.13 because we're waiting for the next drop, which never came. Okay. So we're offering a better insulated roof than the majority of our competitors at a very competitive price.
And are there many competitors in the industry?
Oh, hundreds.
Is there?
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely. Every man and a dog is selling these.
Right. So that's why customer service is so important.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I had an order last week, and I never met the gentleman. He sent me a quote in just the pictures and the size, and I gave him a rough idea. He said, well, yeah, I'm interested. So I went around to meet him. And I was there 25 minutes just to inspect it all very simple. And he said to me, you're not the cheapest. And I said, really? Oh, you surprised me. I thought, that's just joking. I said, no, of course we're not. I said, but I like the way you do the product. It's very thorough. There's no pressure. Yeah. Your product is better insulated than the majority. All this sort of, he was selling it all to me.
Right. Like, I already know that stuff. That's why I'm here.
But it was nice to hear, because people don't always go for the cheapest.
No, they don't. And I think things have changed and have evolved, but it used to have a bad reputation with conservatories and doors, people knocking on the door, that hard sell. Yeah. So that's still perceived, I think, in a lot of people's minds.
The double glazing sales.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in that industry for many, many, many years. Yeah. And, I won't ask the people that know me, but if you speak to any of my customers, they'll also, there's none of that going on. No. You don't have to be that sort of person to get customers to order.
And Can we just go through, is it easy for you to talk about the pricing? Because I guess it depends on the size of the conservatory.
It depends on a million things. So if a customer, because most of our competitors, if I phoned up and said, oh, hello, can you give me a price for a 4 metre by 3 metre Edwardian roof, insulated, tiled with TAPCO, they'd say, no. In not so many words, but they wouldn't, because they'd think, A, I'm a competitor, B, if I just give them the price, I'm just shopping around for prices, not go with the cheapest. Yeah. They want to get a salesman in front so they can, and it's the same for anyone. But with me, if someone gives me that information, I'll send them the price. It's not a problem. Yeah. There's no issue with that. And like the gentleman I talked about just now, he went ahead. Yeah. Yeah. So what's the harm? Yes. Because what people most consumers are worried about is, for example, if I phoned up and said, oh, I'd like a quote for a conservatory roof, and they say, oh, yeah, is your wife going to be there? And sorry? Huh? And that old school attitude, they want Mr. and Mrs. together. Right. So they can try and sell it to you there and then on the day, and use their influence to, give you a big price and then drop it, or whatever reason. Yeah. They're old school. There are a lot of companies still that operate like that.
Less said about them, the better. The types of home, new builds. Do you work on new builds? Like we've got this big estate and that want conservatory roofs.
We work on new builds that are already built. You have to remember we are
you replacement.
So there's an estate in, I can't remember where it is, in West Sussex. Let's call it that. I forget the town. Yeah. Where I think we've got 5 jobs on the same estate, and there's 3 neighbours in a row. Right. Because they're all identical. Okay. So I said to the first one, if your neighbour wants to go ahead, that's the price. You can do it. And it's gone like that and like that.
They've all seen it. They've all seen that.
And they're all at the grey slate, and they all look exactly the same because they're new built on the conservatory site. Yeah. The conservatory were built on site when the houses were built.
I think that's an ideal situation, isn't it, for you guys?
It's fantastic.
They see one, and the neighbour goes, I want that.
And we incentivise the first customer. So, well, if next door buys, you get an Amazon voucher for 200 quid and this and that. And we get a lot of work from those customers. Yeah, nice. And that applies to every customer anywhere. So if any referral we do pay.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, do you? So you give that?
Yeah,
you're right.
Absolutely.
Okay. And how much do you do that?
We do an Amazon voucher, John Lewis or Marks and Spencer.
Okay.
I think we did one for Wicks or somewhere, some particular one. Yeah. But we'll do a £200 voucher for all referred business.
Okay, that's good.
Where it's comes from a customer or a painter and decorator. Yeah. A business networker, anything like that.
Okay. Yes, I'll watch out for that. You mentioned that the roofs are all timber.
So we build a traditional roof, so it's a 6x2 tannelised timber rafter system that's resin bolted into the brick of the house. Yeah. Construct the rafters around that. Yeah. A new eaves beam, which is the head of the frame, fascia, gutter, everything is fully replaced. The insulation is, as I've already mentioned, better than building regs. It's a U value of 0.13. Yeah. And that's in 2 sections. You've got a solid foam and a quilt system. Appropriate air gaps for ventilation to comply with building regs. Okay. And that's all put together on site, handmade, bespoke by our team, who we now have 7 guys in our build team. So we can install, I think we're currently installing about 4 roofs a week.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, so, that's good. And we also spoke earlier about, I wondered whether it makes it insulates it and makes the whole building quieter. Quieter. And tell us the story about the man in the raindrops.
Okay, that's funny. I won't mention his name, because I can't actually remember his name, but I remember his wife's name. We'll just keep it her first name. Yeah. But I had what I call a doubting Thomas, who didn't believe that he wouldn't be able to hear the rain in his conservatory, because he had a PVC plastic polycarbonate roof scenario going on. So as you know, when it rains on a polycarbonate roof, it sounds like a drum.
Oh God, yeah.
So this guy worked in his home office conservatory at home. Every time the phone rang and it was raining, he'd have to pick the phone up and run out of the room because he couldn't hear. So I said to him, when I did the quote, it wouldn't affect you, he wouldn't hear the rain. And he didn't believe me. No. His wife saying, "Oh, come on, Raj," that was his name. Okay. I just remembered it. "Come on, Raj." So no, he wouldn't. I said, don't believe it. So a few days later on, she rang me up and said, "Can you arrange to take him to another job? Wait for a rainy day." It was in the winter, so it was pouring with rain most days. Yes, absolutely. They're down on the coast. So I took them both to another customer on a rainy day, and he was like a small child. He was looking out the window, looking at the roof, looking at his wife, saying, "Shelley, it's raining. Is it? Can you hear the rain? Shelley." And she just laughed, smiled at me and said, well, go ahead. And you can't hear anything. There's no rain, no wind.
Yeah.
So it's a massive, I mean, if you look at some of the reviews we've had, people describe it as changing the way we live at home.
Right.
And I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, that makes me feel really proud.
Yeah.
You can actually really make a positive spin on people's lives.
When you get some proper hailstones and some proper rain, it's proper noisy.
And when you see some of the projects that we've done, I mean, they're like awful. I mean, really covered in green mould and flies. Mess. And once it's all restored and all the windows are clean and it's temperate, dry, free of damp, they're beautiful spaces that people absolutely love. And I do say to customers, you're going to fight over this room one morning, you'll love it so much.
Because you do see it, and I guess it is hard to clean a conservatory roof, isn't it? When you get all the moss on, they're getting, especially if you're an elderly. I know you can probably get someone in, but it's a job.
I have a man called Ian who's a window cleaner.
Yeah.
And he provides me with customers. So he had his roof done by me.
Yeah.
Lives in Uckfield. And he goes to customers to clean their windows. And ones that have conservatories, it takes him an hour to clean a conservatory roof. And as soon as he's done it, within probably a couple of days, moss has fallen back on top of it. You get leaves and dirt and that. So it's a continuous cycle. So he actually refers us, takes them to shows the customers his conservatory.
Perfect.
And again, I reward him.
I bet you do. I can see him doing it. You say every time he goes around, you know what? We've got a solution for this. Just have a proper roof put on it. And I know a guy that does it. And here's his.
That's him in a nutshell.
Yeah.
He's the best window cleaner salesman I've got.
He's probably making him quite wealthy with all the referral Amazon vouchers.
Well, he's hoping to pay for his own roof, over time.
Right. Yeah.
He's about 13 grand still to go.
Keep going, mate. You mentioned that there's lots of people that do what you do. What makes you different from your competitors?
Okay, so the majority of I would say, when we're up against another company, it tends to be a double glazing business or a multiple product business. So we are what I call a specialist. All we do is conservatory roof renovation. We don't do anything else unless it's a job that we've done for an existing customer. For example, we had a lady who bought a roof, then she wanted her garage converted. We had all the skills and trades to do that, so we did that.
Yeah.
But we don't promote that sort of thing. So because as a specialist, the majority of our other companies are selling double glazing, driveways, kitchens, bathrooms, all sorts of multiple products. Yeah. Because the market's shrinking and they're trying to grab as much as they can. So with conservatory roofs, when you have a specialist, and especially as a family company, we do care. Yeah. And we're not, it's not just a random salesman just trying to get a commission. We do care. We have a certain protocol that we have to go through. Yeah. And as a specialist, we won't turn down any job. Okay. I've had a job we did in Worthing where it was like a rhombus shape. So it was 2 meters wide at one side, going out to 4 meters at the other side. Yeah. And no company with one of their system roofs. So when I say a system roof, there's other products are made by manufacturers, and then local installers will buy the roof, get it made in a factory, and come and install it. That's what I call a system roof. You've got companies like, I won't remember the names now, Leca, for example, L-E-K-A, Leca, Ultraframe, all these different types of Guardian roofs. There's all these different products that most companies will fit. Yeah. None of them could do it because the computer just wouldn't cope with the design. So we went on and just built it bespoke on site, and it looks amazing. Yeah, it's one of our. I use that photograph in most of our
in your marketing. Yeah, that's going the extra mile, isn't it?
So
I think no longer is like you say, not everyone always buys on price. They want more than that.
Yeah, having said all that, we're not expensive.
No,
but we are a lot more expensive. For example, you're saying about other competitors. There are companies that say, have a solid conservatory roof, and all they do is they take the polycarbonate out and replace it with an insulated panel. And they sell that, but they are a company that will sell
so low standard stuff.
It's not low standard, but it's very expensive for what it is, and they're quite often more expensive than we are doing a full handmade bespoke roof just by taking panels. It's crazy.
Yeah, cut corners, isn't it?
There's lots of so that's a sort of company that's more expensive than us, or as expensive as us. But then you can get lower quality insulated panels that will be a quarter of our price.
Yeah, right.
You can get companies that won't take the whole roof down. They'll just use part of the existing structure.
Just put stuff on the top.
Yeah, there's all sorts of, you get a famous job that we did in our minds, famous in our minds. I went to see a customer who had had a roof fitted by a man down the pub.
Oh my God.
So her husband was down the pub, and there was a builder down the pub. I can do that for you, mate. And he said, oh, come round. And the wife always wanted us to do the job. She'd been recommended to us. And, you know,
Right.
So I hadn't actually had a quote because the husband had already arranged it. This guy had come round and he'd spent, I'll tell you the figures, it was £5,000 building this roof with glass panels. And I went there after it had leaked and she'd had so many problems and it looked awful. And she then spent £13,260 odd pounds with us to replace that roof that hadn't even been plastered. It was brand new.
God.
Just took it down, put it in the bin, and started again. So a 13 grand roof cost her 18,000.
Yeah.
So that's what happens if you go with the cheap.
Yeah.
Or what can happen.
Yeah. Point taken. Yeah. So, I think that. Yeah. That's a real wise lesson there. So what does the future hold? What you mentioned your children involved, the other business.
We've looked at other products. I mean, we're always going to be sort of garden specialists, if you like, so the back of the house.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the moment at other products such as garden buildings, home offices.
Okay.
And there's, again, a huge market for that, and there's a huge amount of competitors. Yeah. But again, by being bespoke, most companies will do it in a certain way, a sort of system way.
Yeah.
We can just literally do any type of building project. We did one job where we completely took the conservatory apart. We've done a couple, built solid side insulated walls, rendered them so it looked like an extension. Put a flat roof with big glass windows in it. So any sort of project like that, but we can do freestanding ones. We've just started we've got an agency with another company called DuPonti, which is a Dutch company. It sounds Italian because there's a Dutch and Italian made the business.
Right.
They used his name.
Right. Yeah.
It's in them. But they sell very high quality glass and aluminium buildings. So if people want sort of pergolas for the bottom of the garden, you can have them with covered up with glass doors, glass sliding roofs, all that sort of stuff. So glass, but again, it's a new product, but it's something in the back of the garden where we're already there. That sort of thing.
Yeah. There's lots of things like that you can add on with the garden, but garden furniture, garden buildings, really.
Buildings. Yeah. So basically, anything that can be built, and our guys are carpenters. We build from timber.
Yeah.
But my son Harry is a builder. I mean, he's trained and qualified, so he can do. He's just done a beautiful job in Bexhill. We changed all the drainage and dug it all out and chopped the patio up, put the Yakko drains in, and he can do any of that sort of stuff. So we have all the skills. Within the business to take on any garden.
Whatever people need.
Not landscape gardening, but the buildings that go.
The buildings, yeah. No, I get it.
Who knows? One day, perhaps we'll be landscape.
Well, why not? So, if someone wants to get a quote or get involved in what you do, or wants to find out more, they can just inquire through the website.
If you just type the word Solicon, it's an unusual word. Solicon. It stands for Solid Insulated Conservatory.
I was going to say, did we just talk about why that's called Solicon?
But we actually have the trademark for that word.
Okay, right.
So if you just put that word in, it'll come up with us.
Okay.
I mean, there is a company in Scotland who use it, but they're nothing to do with us. And they had it before we did, but we trademarked it.
Yeah. Good idea. Yeah.
But good. If you just Google that word, it'll come up. We cover the whole area from as far up as Ipswich all the way down to sort of Southampton.
Okay.
I'm in Southampton tomorrow, actually, with a client.
All right, so sort of all Kent and Sussex, but also going up to over
Surrey, Hertfordshire, Essex. Do a massive amount of work in Essex.
Okay.
Because the first guy I started the company up lived in Norwich.
Right.
So we used to meet in between. I was down here and he was up there.
Yeah.
So Essex was a patch that he was 2 hours away, I was 2 hours away.
Yeah.
So it's become a very, very good area for us.
There's a massive marketplace actually when you think about it, isn't it? Opportunities.
I mean, there's over 5 million conservatories and they're being built still with glass and plastic roofs today.
Yeah, right.
Ridiculously. There's 5 million of them in the UK. So in our corner, we've probably got 1 million plus. And we've done 1,000. So there's a few left to go.
You got a few more to do. Thanks, Andy. Thanks very much for coming in. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's great.
You're off on a golfing holiday soon, aren't you?
I'm going off to Singapore on Friday.
Yeah, lucky you.
With my brother.
Yeah.
We're a golfing family.
Yes, I know. We play golf sometimes, don't we? And you always beat me, but that's the way it is. It's because you play so much. Thanks again. Anyone wants to get in touch with Andy, all the details are below underneath this podcast. But as Andy mentioned, please go to his website, find out more about him. As you can see, he's really approachable, and I'm sure he'd really help you with your new conservatory roof. Thanks again, and we'll see you all for another podcast soon. Thanks. Cheers.